Hello everyone, and welcome to the second Procura Plus webinar of 2016. This webinar will explore case studies of good practice and some fresh approaches to market engagement from Procura Participants. Program this afternoon for you. So we'll have the 3 Procura Participants who will be showcasing their best practice. We have, first of all, David Morgan from Cornwall County Council. And up we will have Gorane González from Ihobe in Spain, and we will have Betina Bergmann Madsen from the city of Copenhagen. My name's John. I'm from Italy, and I'll be the moderator for this afternoon's webinar. So we will have time for questions after each presentation, and hopefully at the end, if time allowing, we will have a final question and answer session with the 3 presenters as well as a panel. You can send me any questions through the question and answer box at the bottom right of your screen, and I will then read out the questions to the presenters. I would encourage you to send your questions at any time during the presentations by the text, and I can then read them out at the end of the presentations. I think that's for the housekeeping side of things. So I think without further ado, I will ask David Morgan from Cornwall Council for the first presentation. So say that David's actually the facilitator of the Procura Plus interest group on market engagement, and that's something that if you go into the Procura Plus website, you can actually see more about, or you can contact myself and David if you'd like to get involved in that as well. I'm sure we'll talk more about that in a second. So I will just pass you across to present. Muted now as well.
Thanks, Sean. Do that, just check before.
Yeah, we can see that, David. Yeah, that's
cool.
Perfect.
My presentation, engagement, maximising value for money, and this is on a piece of work which we're undertaking at the moment in the Procura Plus interest group on supplier and market engagement, on when, where, and how market engagement is the right thing to do. And I should thank John really for the slides, since I probably stole it from him, but it talks a little bit about what the role of market engagement is. So communicating the needs and requirements to suppliers is a key bit. Understanding current market trends, feasibility, capability, maturity, and capacity, all important things. And importantly, openly, transparently discussing potential solutions. We'll come on to the benefits of that in a second. And potentially stimulating innovation. And things which I'm quite keen to do is to clearly make the links between market engagement, and SPP or GPP. And one of the things that I'm trying to do here at the moment at Cornwall Council is to combine. We've separate initiatives really on supplier and supply chain development, responsible procurement, and procurement, and I'm trying to bring those 3 things together so that they can be considered side by side. Market engagement, and these are the ones which some of them brought forward by my colleagues who now run various bits of market engagement pre and during the tender process, and they really see as the main benefit flagging potential problems before the procurement commences. I guess I've talked about the mindset a little bit of procurement practitioners. The innovation isn't higher on this list as it stands at the moment, but certainly from their point of view, very procedural point of view, the main benefit around flagging potential problems. So what we've seen in the past is flagging problems with the specification, making sure that things in the specification are clear and are deliverable is a really important part of good market engagement. As for the terms and conditions, this is one that we have regularly. Sectors to like parts of our terms and conditions. We had an example with insurance recently, flag issues with that prior to the procurement process commencing, you're less likely to receive qualified bids and therefore more likely to be able to award. Issuing criteria, so for example, our health and social care sector down here in Cornwall, historically there's been a lot of issues around health and safety practice, and the market engagement, particularly with the engagement that you can do in the procurement process, give you an opportunity to set your expectations around things like health and safety. They actually come out in the tender documentation. Give suppliers a fair opportunity to make advancements in these areas. It also gives you the opportunity to raise risks and liabilities associated with the tender. The main reason that we have tenders here, or procurement processes here, which result in us not being able to award, is around risks and liabilities. So if we have a service which has very substantial pension assets, or the transfer of a significant number of employees with maybe they go quite high redundancy costs with them. They're some of the main barriers that we have to awarding in grants, and we can have those discussions up front with the suppliers. It allows us to appropriately manage that risk. Could result in better informed specifications. Could result in advancements in procurement documentation. So if you're getting feedback on your procurement documentation, if you're in a position to publish your procurement documentation up front, then hopefully increases the chance that you're going to get responses, particularly from SMEs. Real focus on SMEs here, medium-sized enterprises. Buyers and the market plan for the future. So if you give people advance notice, obviously it gives them longer to prepare. Again, particularly important for SMEs if they've not got quite so much resources, some of the larger organisations. Both of those previous ones, really, the advancements in procurement documentation and allowing people to plan for the future, should result in increased competition. And one of the focuses of our supply chain development programme here is increased competition, which is why we've got a focus on pre-market engagement at the moment. And a big one for me personally is around driving innovation. Not all of our procurement practitioners are there yet in terms of that being a key consideration, but with some strategic changes going on in our organisation at the moment, I expect it to climb up the agenda over the course of the next 12 to 24 months. Background to market engagement, and this is some of the work that that we've been building on as an interest group, which John originally undertook over the last few months. But I personally think that there are some prerequisites to market engagement. Go off and publishing a prime invitation notice, inviting people to supplier day, for example, a supply information day, is not as valuable if you haven't done appropriate desktop research in the area which you're purchasing in, which is aided by an appropriate category management structure. Consulting with colleagues from other public authorities is really important, because the chance that somebody's probably bought what you're buying for, unless it's really highly innovative, and even then people may have attempted it before and failed, so it's always worthwhile having discussions. And essentially it's with publishing a market position statement or some sort of forward plan which tells the market what your contract opportunities are likely to be in that area over the coming 12 to 24 months, or even 3 to 5 years. Can be a really positive thing for the market. I think for me, often we talk about market engagement as pre-procurement market engagement, and just at that stage. And I think it's important that we broaden our scope a little bit to include all of the stages that we can have market engagement. So for me, it's ongoing, and some of our category leads, they're good at keeping an ongoing dialogue open with their potential suppliers. It can be a pre-procurement stage, so be through the publication of a PIN, or it could be that we know that we're going to publish a contract notice in the next sort of 6 months and we want to start some sort of pre-market engagement. It could be during the procurement process, or it could be post-award. There might be some people cringing at the screen, but market engagement during procurement processes, and it's our intention to continue so. Just got to be really careful how you manage the risk, particularly around transparency. really, at least as a cycle. So you've got the ongoing engagement, you then go into pre-procurement, and when you've got a particular contract opportunity, you run the procurement process, you do your post-award feedback, and then you go back on into ongoing engagement. So this should be really seen as a cycle. In terms of market engagement, this is a list that we've been working on as an interest group. So there's the ongoing stuff. So forward plan of contract opportunities, which we've just finally managed to do for the first time in about 4 years, which is nice. ECOs, or it could even be procurement. Some of those big procurement shows and conferences, they have trade shows as well, similar to the Procura seminar in Rome last month. Via industry publications, so I'm aware certainly there are industry publications around automotives, for example, which our fleet manager or fleet category manager keeps up to date with. Summary, I mean, there are more than these, but ways of conducting pre-procurement market engagement. I won't go through them in great detail, but happy to field questions from people afterwards if they want to clarify, or equally if people want to have discussions outside of the webinar. I'm sure John can pass on my details. But we do most commonly here is a market sounding questionnaire, or what we call a market test. Lots of names for them, so that would be either an online, either written by email or via SurveyMonkey or Netigate or some type of online questionnaire system. Sharing probably at this stage either just the specification or the specification and the terms and conditions, to try and raise any of those issues up front around how we could potentially do things more innovatively, or if there's something that we've missed or something that's unclear, minimize the number of clarifications during the tender process, that type of stuff. So, I would say here we probably run that type of thing on probably 50% of the tenders that we put out. There's environmental notices, which everyone should be aware of. Sometimes we use those in combination, and also supplier information days. So sometimes we'll use a PIN as a way of advertising a market sounding questionnaire and supplier information day for a contract at a later date. Pre-procurement supplier information days, we run some vendors, an opportunity to go through the tender pack with people, or specification opportunity for suppliers to ask questions. Really important to be as transparent as possible with that. If people can't make it, if you're able to at all record that supplier information day. If that's transcripted, then I think that's no notes taken, but really we try to video record our supplier information days wherever possible and publish those videos. Ministry bodies, always a way of getting some information, but not always perfect either, because they're not representative necessarily of every individual supplier. By networking events, we run on some tenders where where, for example, we're expecting consortium bids, or we're expecting a main contractor subcontractor arrangement to the eventual contract delivery. To class all of those pre-procurement ones as relatively low risk, run correctly, there should be really no risk at all. During the tender process, high risk. Normally deem that the risk of not doing it outweighs the risk of doing it and doing it properly. We have previously run supplier briefings, so attach a contract notice. So would be in the next, on this day in 2 weeks' time, we're also going to be running a supplier briefing to run through the documents, or a clarification day, and also run supplier training. So it tends to, this infuriates to be honest, but it tends to be the way that suppliers or potential suppliers don't necessarily, for example, want to land your re-tendering system up until the chance where there's up until the time that there's a tender opportunity out there. So we have on occasion had to run training on our re-tendering system after the contract notice has gone out. Again, be careful there that you don't receive any clarifications through that route. If you do, that you publish them in the appropriate way. And slightly more light touch or arm's length way of running an event. Sometimes we've run supply networking. We don't really facilitate that. We may give a short introduction and it wouldn't be an opportunity for clarifications. It would just be an opportunity for potential suppliers to meet each other. Some sectors that works well, and for sectors it doesn't. And award, it's really important to use supplier debrief. And above, I would say what's required by the regulators. Maybe as well that if say you haven't been able to award because the quality of the tenders was not sufficient, or you've made an award, but generally there was a market trend to say that, for example, if I take education, health and social care example again, and health and safety, it could be we have enough suppliers to award to, but we do get the market together as a whole to say, this is the tender process that we just ran. We identified general weaknesses around health and safety and quality and diversity, whatever it might be, so that we can then use that and get to the ongoing stage of that and provide opportunities for them to upskill in those areas. And I guess slightly more innovative discussions that we've been having at the interest group, and a piece that I'm quite interested in keen to take forward is the idea that not every type of market engagement is always right for every type of tender. In council at the moment, we have significant inconsistencies in when these types of market engagement events are being run. We have some being run on tenders that probably don't need it, and we also have tenders that need it not having events run for them. So what I've been trying to do is to design some sort of system where we can use a series of criteria to identify whether particular types of market engagement are required, or would particular types of would benefit from market engagement, and what type of market engagement they would benefit from. And these so far, so there's about doesn't need to be a two-way conversation, and that really, I'll explain that as we come down. Some theory, how complex is the product service? And the important thing here is that always think that complexity in the product or service necessarily means innovation. So, for example, we have a very large infrastructure project going on in Cornwall at the moment. I think total something like 70 or 80 million euros road expansion on our major, the equivalent of a Cornwall Highway, so it's really small. But that was a really complex works project, but it was innovative. So then, when we have complexity, my argument would be that maybe it doesn't require quite the rich level of two-way conversation that is needed to drive innovation. I'm happy to have disputed, but that's the thinking at the moment. Complex is the market is quite important. Is it a monopoly, a duopoly? Is it in perfect competition? How do those organisations compete with each other? That's quite important. How mature is the market, both in terms of the good service and works delivery, but also how mature are the market in terms of, are they used to tendering for public sector work? That might have an impact, for example, on whether you run supply training days on the e-tendering system. It may be that you've got a fairly simple product, so you would think, I don't necessarily need to run market engagement, but actually if the market is very immature and is not used to tendering for public contracts, then it might be that training events could still be could be relevant. Also, for innovation is a really important one. Certainly, I would be behind the idea that you need a rich two-way conversation in order to drive innovation in a lot of these contracts and to really understand what the market's able to deliver. If it's delivering policy through procurement objectives, so social value, GPP, so more general social criteria, apprenticeship, skills, all types of different stuff. You need to understand that at the start before you design your market engagement strategy. So the value of the contract. Sometimes there will be contracts that are just so small that it's not viable to run market engagement activities because they can be fairly intensive. And importantly, what the balance of knowledge between the buyer and supplier is. Do you need information back from the supplier in order to get the correct specification, or do you have the expert on service working for your organisation organisation, in which case you may not need that same level of feed in from the supply market. Just wanted to, and I'm up against time, John, but it only takes 2 minutes. About potential risks and mitigating actions. It's something that I covered in another webinar I did a few weeks ago. The main ones that are always raised to me are around fairness and transparency. So the important thing is, with any of this stuff, you've got to openly advertise all opportunities. The exception to that possibly is where you're in a restricted procedure and you choose to run something after the pre-qualification questionnaire. Maybe you can just advertise that to, well, you could just advertise that to those organisations who you're inviting to tender. But in pretty much every other circumstance, it's best to be openly advertising. You need to be clear about which discussions are commercial in confidence and which are not. We're speaking to suppliers. There will be stuff, suppliers are not going to be keen to share their intellectual property in a discussion they feel is commercial in confidence, and it's best to be explicit about these things. Either you're meeting with a supplier, you're discussing elements of their work which are commercial in confidence and you therefore are not going to share it, or you need to be clear that you're going to publish any of those discussions. So, and leads on to the next one. So you've got to publish everything that's not commercial in confidence. The risk that communication is, I think, the lower the risk. So if you're publishing an actual recording of a session, like video recording of a session, that's more transparent, I would say, than publishing notes. But it depends what resource you've got to give to that. And I always advise people here against meeting suppliers in a one-on-one situation. One supplier to a buyer, I think, is fine, but it's best always to have multiple people from each side to avoid any risk of fraud and corruption. You've got to remember also that suppliers are salesmen and women. That is their job. Don't be fooled by claims. I'm not sure we've got specific examples of it here, but I can imagine now, somebody changing specification to have some sort of innovative solution that then actually turns out to be not deliverable, either within budget or just generally not deliverable. But the sort of flip claim of that is, don't be fooled by claims that it can't be done. So there are certainly examples where the market have said, we can't possibly deliver that. It's not possible either within that budget or generally it's not possible without technology. Later, when the buyers have stuck to their guns, they've had good examples, good results. So take a bit of pinch of salt. And it's important to facilitate new innovative solutions without explicitly excluding others. And this is something, a discussion I regularly have internally with our procurement people. It's great to encourage innovation, move to slightly more outcomes-based specifications, and move in that direction. But what we don't want to do is actively exclude suppliers who are not being more innovative, because it might turn out that the innovation you're expecting materialise. And if anyone's got any questions, I think John said they're happening through the meeting team. And thanks very much.
Thank you very much, David. That was a really good overview there of the work you're doing in Cornwall and the questions and the considerations that you're making within your organisation for market engagement. If anyone's got any questions, please do post them in the Q&A box on the bottom. I'll kick off with a question. So, David, you mentioned about the sort of fair and transparent aspect of market engagement and making sure that this is always a prerequisite. And I read the way that you have the video recordings of your events as well. Do you have any strategies to try to make sure that these dialogue and documentations of the dialogue are sent to as many people as possible, or as many servers as possible?
Ordinarily, when we run pre-market engagement, we would then publish anything that's happened as part of pre-market engagement. We would link to as part of the contract notice, or the national portal, depending on where it's obviously going out, so that people are clear what's already happened if they join the process late. For reason that they've missed the pre-market engagement opportunity. We publish some stuff on our website on special pages, depending on the size of the project. So, for example, when we ran a lot of market engagement on, I guess single contract here is for domestic waste collection. We ran some market engagement on that. That was a few years ago now. But for the duration of that project through the pre-procurement and the procurement. We had its own web on the council page where people could see what had happened in the past. So just importantly, when you put at the stage when you put your contract notice out, you need to be referencing back to stuff which already happened.
We have a question here from Pertu. So could you open up a bit about the soft market test? Do you have any examples of what this could be or what this means?
Yeah, we run soft market tests quite regularly. Normally, they are published on our e-tendering portal as sort of low. It's available internationally, but it's a local in terms of it's not on TED. On Noju, of a pin, and we sort of say we then historically it's always been a downloadable Word document which people then return by email, but now to move it more on to we have a program called Integrate for online questions. Basque, as I said, we as per process we would normally share the draft specification and the draft terms and conditions because they're the areas where we tend to have the biggest issues. A couple times now we have also shared the procurement documentation. I can see Bettina's joined the call, and she's definitely a keen advocate for sharing procurement documentation before the tender goes out. So also an option, and we would ask a series of questions on that, probably not too long, about sort of the scope of the specification, where the guys feel that the specification is currently deliverable, whether they feel that it captures different areas that could be innovated in, whether there's particular selection criteria potentially that may cause an issue for the sector. We ask questions around sort of like questions, does your organisation hold health and safety accreditation? If it does, then what is it? So that we can try and be slightly more proportionate in the selection criteria when we put the tender documents out. We have a whole range of questions, often around terms and conditions, specific terms and conditions. Are there any terms and conditions in the draft terms and conditions attached which would prevent your organisation from competing? Questions like that. Sometimes we have one term and condition around limitation of liability, which some tenders have a problem with. So sometimes that comes up as an issue. Also questions around things like pension, whether organisations would be willing to take on pensions liabilities, whole lot of different things. But it's a real opportunity for us to steer that communication. We try as explicit as possible in the and as sort of narrow as possible in those questions. Really, it's about specific things rather than about broad brush strategic stuff.
I guess that links a little bit as well to some of the work I know that you're doing, trying to engage more small to medium enterprises as well, trying to make sure that they're able to include themselves in as many tenders as possible. Is that correct?
Yeah, so in that we have some resources that are available online and things to try and encourage SMEs. I'm in conversations at the moment with our local Chamber of Commerce and our Federation of Small Businesses about running some joint events with them to encourage people, encourage smaller organisations to tender for public sector. So yeah, lots of work going on that sort of, aside from this market engagement, really to encourage access for SMEs. Great.
I'll leave it there just now, David. Obviously, you're able to join a little bit at the end for any sort of questions that we may have. So thank you very much for your presentation, and I will now sack the printer rights just now.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Gorane from Ihobe. I'm just going to pass Gorane the presentation rights. I think you should now have the presentation rights to yourself, so if you could share your presentation, that would be great.
Okay. Did I?
We can't see it just yet. If you go to the share icon at the top of the screen, the drop down or screen that way. That might work.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Excuse me, wait a moment.
No, we can't see it yet. If you go to on WebEx, if you go to the top left, there's a small drop-down menu called Share, and then to share your screen using that link. That's working. Yeah. So if you just make your presentation full screen, that would be perfect.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Gorane Ibarra. I'm the responsible of the public procurement in the Basque Country. And first of all, I want to present very quickly what is Ihobe, to understand better our paper, no, in the Basque Country, with the administration and with the company. So Ihobe is a public environmental agency of the Basque government, and we are we are in the middle between the administration and the other actor of the environmental. And also we have to work with different actors to get the goals or the political goals. No, we are always our job is quite practical. So we think it's very important to develop the material guides and this kind of things. But our paper is to develop this kind of tools, but also to put in practice all of them. No, so I think that is one of the most important parts of our work. Well, here you have very quickly what is the vision, what is our values. I don't put in detail in all of them, but it's to understand. We have 5 strategic objectives. There are 2 of them very important for us for the procurement. One of them is improving environmental quality, but others very important also that is private partnerships and citizen responsibility. No. What is our paper? What is our papers in GPP in the Basque Country? Well, we are the technical secretary for spreading GPP in the Basque Country in all levels of administration, and we have been working in 2 different levels. One of them is in internal, because Ihobe, we are public administration, we have more or less all of our tenders with environmental procurement, but the second level is much more important for no. That is spreading GDP in regional level, no, to work with all type of administration and with companies, with private sector, to improve GDP in all Basque Country regions. So, well, working in GPP since 2005, and we have been working more or less in 3 lines. No, one of them is getting political commitment to get political compromise. No, is very important for us, and sometimes the nations ask, no, well, if my politicians do what I want to do it. No, so we have to get the political compromise. The other line, also very important for us, is the development GPP criteria. No, nowadays we have more than 25 products and service groups with criteria, environmental environmental criteria. And for us, I had, but we are very practical, and this kind of criteria has to be real, practical, and according with the market. No, so one of the important jobs in GPP has been the development of this kind of GPP criteria. No, and the third line is developing also tools and support to the Basque Authority, trainings, publication, individual support. So more or less, these are the three lines we have work. We have in GPP. The principal vision of GPP, Ihobe's vision, that GPP, the three actors, that is the public administration, the private sector, and the citizens also, no? And if we want to impose GPP, all of them have to participate in the projects, no? And nowadays, with the citizens, we are working with high schools, and we are working with the students to be a critical view of the processes, no, in general, and to show how to identify the good products and the good services, no, which is the real information to know what is good, what is not good, no. So for us, and because we don't have more sources, we have nowadays working with this in this kind of job with citizens in general. And then public administration and public sector, we have worked more or less, no, because first the relationship between them is literally, so we have to work with all of them together. More or less, with administration, we to have a necessity, and companies of the private sectors know very well how to have this necessity, no? So we are our relationship is directly, and some purchasers and some are indispensable in GPP, no? So because who knows by the market companies, so they have to be in the projects, no? Well, we have worked with private sector briefly or basically development, implement environmental criteria, no? And how, well, more or less, which is first of all, we find theoretical information or the European Commission information that which kind of criteria could be, no? And we study very well what is the Basque private sector, no? Where we are, no? And with this information, we elaborate the first proposal, no, of environmental criteria. We have two different types of this kind of criteria. One with administration, and the other with companies, no, with the private sector. With administration, we have a very important platform here in the Basque Country. Is the Udalsarea. We have inside more than 90% of local administration. No? So for us, it's a very good platform to check this kind of criteria. And then with the government, we have directly relationship. So directly we check the criteria with them. Company, we also try to check the sectorial association because they're very close to the companies, and we have near in the Basque Country different public and private partnership platforms. No, and the other, I think that we have a better situation to check with companies, because here in Ihobe we have different areas, and one of them is to work directly with companies. We work with them in eco-design, we work with them in different of environmental, no? So here in the other inside we have different platforms to contact with companies and to check these companies, no? One thing is really important, and all of the process or the methodology we use is always respecting the law. We always we are very restrictive with the transparency and to give the same information for all of them, for all companies. No, it's very important, and I think that is the way to have the real image of the private sector. No, so we have the theoretical of the first environmental criteria. We check with the administration and with the companies, and then we have the final environmental criteria that they are real and according with the market. No, so this methodology is really important, not only because the environmental criteria that they are real and according with the market, and it is important not to tender no's or votes or to eight or to less appeals, no. But we think that is important for two other reasons. One is because we active the private sector, no. Then we tell you what is a lot of this kind of work with companies, but we know we have seen that the companies move around the environment and move around the environmental criteria, and move the business, no, to respond better to the environmental criteria in public tenders, no. And other reason is because we found that we are pretty better our sector, the private sector, with information in advance. We tell them, hey, the administration will put this criteria in the tender. So if you want to earn the tender, you have to give the response to this criteria. So they have the information for prepare the strategy, the future strategy to criteria. Now, it's important, and for us, there is opportunity to identify other situations or problems to work. No, so today we are working more in to know what is a real environmental criteria to go with the same speed and to coordinate offer and demand. But we also is a very good opportunity for us to identify how to work in other areas or GPP with the companies. No? For us, it's very important if we want to spread the GPP and to have a good result, we have to work with administration and we have to work with companies and with private sector, but coordinated and more or less with the same speed. So we don't solve the problems. Administration puts in their tenders environmental criteria, but there is not good products in the market to respond to them, and the problem is not solved if in the market there are good products or this, but the administration don't ask them. So for us, it's really important the coordination between offer and demand, and it's very important to go more or less in the same speed. No, so as it's really important, and here you can say what is the different opportunities, so the different areas to, because this methodology is I have said, it's also an opportunity to identify other problems, other areas to work with companies. No? For us, or for companies, we think that if we work with them together and give them information directly, it's a good tool for industry to innovate and be more competitive between them also. Offer the environmental version to our customer also, not public, private, no, public or private, and sometimes is strength the green and also local economy. And it's about it can be the image is improved. Also, for us, it's important, and we know that in some sector they have seen this kind of work very, very positively. Well, some of the results of this kind of work, well, some sectors are more prepared and more accepted than others. No? For instance, gardening, the Basque companies of gardening are local and are very little, so they show or have done this kind of criteria very bad. Because for them was a very important thing, and companies they have not very much to change or to move their business, no. And what we have done is to put the level of demand more. I don't know how to say. I have the demand in this case, and we also we have prepared courses and guides for them through the local authorities. No, for example, the green criteria to put in gardens, or information about the invasive plant, of this kind of things. No, so the objective is well, this is not very good, but you have the opportunity to give information, to give course, to prepare guides, or to prepare the criteria very easily for them. No, to them to the objective is that the sector go ahead with administration. No? But there are other sectors, for example, cleaning services, furniture, office material, that we have seen that they're more prepared, no? And more receptive also. For example, with cleaning services, with this service, because it is a service is quite local, no? They are quite local companies, and impose the local company. We have seen that the local company are more and more green, no? Also with the cleaning products, with the collaboration in the Basque Country, have 2 or 4 important companies with cleaning products with the collaboration, very innovative companies. So for us, it can be an opportunity to impose this kind of products, no? For example, in furniture, in the Basque Country, our furniture has acquired environmental level very high, no? Because most of them are working in eco-design, are working with FSC or this kind of eco-label, and they ask them to increase the level of the demand, no? So it's other example. And for example, in office material, now a lot of companies have the green catalog, and nowadays all them know how to use it, how to give information to the administration. No? For example, with office material, with paper, we are working together in the criteria, because we we have a market problem here with the papers with equal labels, no? Some companies offer to administration papers with equal labels, but we realize that the technical criteria didn't pass. So nowadays we are dialogue with the market, dialogue with companies, and we are preparing how to solve this problem. No? So it's another opportunity to dialogue with them and to solve market problems on this kind of things. No? Then I have said that for us it's a very good opportunity to work on these areas. No? Well, just now in September, our second program of procurement in the Basque Country was passed. No? Now we also have in Spanish, but short will be available in English. But in this program, the coordination with the market is strengthened. No? We have the principal goals of the program, the principal and their goals. We have 3 of them, and one of them is to optimize the coordination with the market. That for us is very important. Very important to resolve with the standards, but also to impose on a tool for our companies, no, to innovative. I think that is tool to include in eco-innovation in companies. So for us, it's all that opportunity, not only for administration, but also for the companies. This program has 5 strategy lines. Here you can see with 5 of them, but and one of them is coordination with the market expression. So we have different strategy lines, and one of them is how we work with one of them to solve and check all of the opportunities, but for the administration and for the industry. Is a strategy line, the coordination with the market. We have 4 actions to work with them. No, one of them is the first one is the classic one is to work technical criteria. Is working the public transport, the supply of electricity, unemployment and waste collection. No? But we have other 3. We put other suppliers and procurement and to create a dialogue between them. Sometimes we are until we have called the sessions, no, separately, but sometimes we know that it's important to put together and to impose the dialogue between them, no, because sometimes the language are very different, no, so it's to put together it's opportunity to explain or the problems and how to do it, no. The line is to facilitate participation in innovative purchasing progress. This is quite new, and we don't have explained it, but we want to facilitate to companies this kind of process. No, nowadays we have a pilot project with the Basque policy, and we want to change the windows of one of these stations. We are also celebrate a technical session about green public procurement and innovation, and we want to move between administration and between companies the green public of innovation. And the last action is also to develop supplier training courses. No, one thing is technical criteria, and one thing is to give what is the technical information to respond standards, but other things that they need training. No? For example, in how to prepare a good environmental offer. In September, we celebrate the edition, and it was selected, no? Because how to prepare, how to plan, how to prepare the papers to respond to one concrete criteria. Maybe within that is quite easy, but we realize that there really is over. So it's important to offer this kind of training also for companies, to companies, no? Because not only is the technical criteria, technical information, there are also problems. So there's also other areas to work with them. No? And that's all. Maybe I do it quite quickly, or I don't know how to say, but well, if you want more information, or if you ask about it, well, we can you can get me.
Thank you very much, Gorane. Yes, we can share these presentations and obviously share contact details on the Procura Plus page, and also maybe I'll put some of these on the procurement forum as well. So if anybody wants to follow up with Gorane, maybe through that, we could also use that space. Thanks very much. It was a really great presentation, and it's really interesting to see how Ihobe is also a third party are bringing together suppliers and public administrations to work on criteria there, which is a really interesting approach. A question, Gorane, maybe is just David touched upon in his presentation about some of the methods for engaging with suppliers, such as maybe questionnaires or prior information notices or supplier engagement meeting or days. What do you do in Ihobe in that sense? What's the process for bringing together suppliers and public administrations to work on this criteria?
Well, we don't have any concrete methodology for that. We usually work very close to the sectorial association, because they are very close to the company, and they know very good how to work with them, and it depends also of the sector. No, for example, it's very different to work with clean services with this kind of service, and it's different, or it's quite different to if you work with, for example, with manufacturing company, no? And we have other platforms here in Ihobe to work with companies, no? And that is also important, but maybe the suppliers or the viewer that is in the middle, no? That is not manufacturing, so we don't have the opportunity to move the real criteria, but they have to have the information to give to the administration. So for suppliers, we have to show how to find the information we need, how to give this information to the administration. So it depends on the sector, and it depends of the type of company it is, no? So it is manufacturing, it is a supplier, and it's not a manufacturing, but they have in the middle of the administration and the manufacturing. So it depends, but we usually work with sectorial and associations, because they're very close to the companies, no?
Okay, that's great to know. And just another question. So you mentioned actually the furniture example, where they actually they wanted to increase the level of demand. And I was just curious if any other sectors have had the same experiences where you've been able to push that criteria a little further?
Yeah. It depends on the here. What the objective is not also to improve the lean procurement. It's also to improve our sector. No, so we think that is an opportunity for the administration, but also to be more competitive our companies. No, so for example, in sector we have quite a lot of companies. They are more or less with working in eco design. We have a very important sectorial association, and I think that is the result of having working with them, no, in other areas. But it's important I have said, no, that it's important to coordinate and to go together offer and demand, and to put or to help to have the sector if there is not in good level, no. So the administration, we have the responsibility also, no, to what we know what is our responsibility to include environmental criteria, but we have to impulse our sector. So it's for this reason it's very important not only to study the theoretical information. We have to study also the real market to coordinate and to put the good criteria that we have also have to more a little bit more advanced, sorry, no, to say or to tell to the companies, well, I know that you are there, but I will help you, but you know also you have to know also that you have to show and you have to advance in this kind of areas, no. So it's really important not also studying the theoretical information. It is really important to know what is the situation of the market.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you, Gorane. Okay, I think just looking at the time, we will have to go on to the next presentation. So thank you again, Gorane, for your presentation, and we may have some time for some other questions at the end of the webinar. So I'm going to pass the presenter privileges to Betina, who's So we have from City of Copenhagen now to show us a real-life example of a marketing process. I think looks like Betina was there. Betina, if you point, it should be enough now. That's if you just make it full screen. Perfect. Microphone. Betina speaking now. Can
you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes, perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, over to you.
Then everything is fine. Thank you. Hi, I'm Betina from the municipality of Copenhagen, Denmark. I'm a food procurement officer, and I worked with marketing engagement for quite some time, while the municipality of Copenhagen had a goal of 90% organic in all our meals. In Copenhagen, we cook the meal on site with where we make meals for the citizens. So the contracts I make are for whole products like milk, flour, fruit, and so on. So that is just a little bit of background. And I started years ago, I think, doing, and it was slowly developed by time when I found out that I needed to talk with the market to do my food procurement. slide. It will work right now. Hold on.
Do it yourself, Betina, just with
There
the
you go.
arrows.
Now it works. It didn't work before, so now it does. Okay. These are persons that I always have in focus when I do food procurement. I have kitchen staff in my focus. It is a demand and then needs that I need to put into contract. But I always need to talk with the market to ensure that they meet this demand. As we had a target in the municipality of Copenhagen of reaching 90% organic foods to the public. In that goal, we needed halal slaughtered meat. I started to put the market to see if there's any problem getting that organic, and they didn't do that at all. Then at the market meeting, like David talked about earlier, we had a meeting suppliers saying, this is what we demand in the next couple of years. Is it possible for you to be able to deliver that to us? And they all said, no, it doesn't exist. But then I would say to them, in my next meet, I will ask for organic halal sort of meat and more points if you can deliver that to me. So, and then my procurement materials, I published it, and then after publishing it, I had a dialogue, as we call it. It is published on a website. Everybody can go into the website and ask questions and comment on it. And then there's no problem of meeting the demand of organic halal sort of meat. So you can use that as a market debate. But if we did not have the suppliers that early, we have been prepared for our demand. So it is very important to talk with them and try to push it. In this pushing the market, we had actually 2 meetings before I did my procurement materials, because we also had to ensure the legacy in Denmark was correct to ask for halal slaughtered organic meat. So we did some market dialogue in our procurement for fruit and vegetables, because when we do procurement food, I came to think that some of our citizens, the only place to eat is at our institution. That is thinking about the elderly and the people who live at the social homes. They eat, and in our procurement, there was only, like, for example, 1 and 1 red apple. And consider the type of apple it was, or what type of potatoes we asked for, and I thought that was wrong, because we wanted to have a lot of different apples and a lot of different potatoes, that we could get a wide of vegetables and greens into our kitchens when they're cooking, so they can cook for meals in season. So we came out and asked for seasonal diversity, and used this as a criteria also in the tender, give them more points to put the greatest priority. So again, talking with the market, getting them to know what kind of criteria was I aiming for, how did I want them to fill in the document. I wanted them to make a seasonal calendar, so I wasn't specifying when the apple was in season. The supplier should do that, and I described that, of course, because the season vary from year to year. That was a but then they were given points for how many apples, for example, they could offer us. And this was very welcomed by the market, because they always felt that it was very locked. And here we also asked for example, for strawberries. Organic strawberries are not in season, and it can be hard in Denmark to organic strawberries, for example, in December. You will have them very far, and they are very, very expensive. So the suppliers were very welcome for this opportunity. Now lock our contract, so that in some period year you are not able to buy strawberries. But it was decided by the suppliers, and the suppliers decide where to buy the products in our tenders. The supplier could do that, and all came into place with a close dialogue with the market and a close dialogue with the kitchen. We needed in the new way of cooking organic meals, and then in a dialogue with the market, who was also in becoming more organic, having more organic products, having more kind of species. So, and that took a couple, maybe half a year from the start until I had my contract finished. We also have this asking fish in season, because we like one or two very large companies selling fresh fish, but then we several small ones, but they were able to deliver to our gardens. So we thought, okay, maybe if we ask for fresh fish in season, and they said that the supplier could deliver that, and what kind of fish for small kindergartens. So they delivered this box that you see on the picture, and they could decide what fish to put in, and then they were supposed to specify a basic box, and we had like 5 different species of fish during the year, and then a luxury box. They had more and more expensive kinds. So they priced all over here, but then the supplier changed the fish, and there should be like not the same fish. But they had to change it around. So, but they could still use the fish that was in season. But you need a very close dialogue with the market, because this is a new doing tender. It's just not the ordinary way. And if you want to do it a new way, you have to address the market, help them understand your thoughts behind the tender. And once they understand your thoughts behind the tender, then it's easier for them to ask the concrete so that you can make a tender that both meet the question, but also are enabled to meet the market. The point that they understand it and that they can give you the right policy to the right price. This is my priorities. It's prior, like before, have the kitchen about their needs. I have a following dialogue with the market, and I always invite the whole market in for a talk about, can you do this? This is our thoughts. What we did. Often they're very quiet because their competitors are in the same room. It's mostly me talking. If I think it's important, I invite them into having a dialogue with me and my colleagues. We are always more than one, and we very close notes, and we tell the buyer that we will publish it. Everybody can see who says what. Depending, they can be very open, otherwise they are very closed, but we will give a second chance to tell them face to face what are our thoughts behind the way of doing a tender. Then we publish everything, sometimes record it, sometimes just publish notes. We start writing our like you say here, I also have a dialogue with the market and of course also the kitchen, but the tender is published. And that's something new I started last tender. The tender material was so different from what we were used to putting out in Denmark. So I invited the market into a meeting, and it was not a dialogue market. It was a market me telling how is tender material built up, what can it, where should you be careful, how do you fill in the tender materials. And then I said to them, it was days after it was published, so they had a time to read it through beforehand. And that if you have any questions, then please write them to me, and I will answer them in writing. We have a tender system, electronic system, so everything is recorded. So we do it after we published, and I'll do that next time too, because it helped, and there was no mistakes from the supplier side. Because everybody said afterwards they felt very sure on how to fill in the tender documents, even though it was the full tender where we had this new season and diversity and everything. So now we're focusing on trying to get more small and medium-sized firms into bidding into our contracts. And a lot of new dialogue with a whole new market. We are talking right now with producers, because we have 2 large kitchens who will for honey. We see that we need to try to open the market because we have so many big suppliers and we never let the small suppliers be able to deliver to our kitchens. But we need to put our contracts differently together. Sometimes maybe we need to ask for the goods or have the contract before they start delivering the goods. Small and medium-sized firms cannot be expected to have built up all their goods so they're able to deliver from one. Maybe, for example, with the bees, maybe they should have the contract half a year before or maybe even a year before, so they put the bees to sleep, and when they wake up, then they can produce more honey for the next season, and then they will sell to us. So what will come from working on now is that I need to talk with the suppliers from a little different producer perspective. For example, dairy products, maybe more also because we open the market, so also the producers close to our area with a possibility to bid into our contract, and a possibility to deliver the municipality. We said even though it is admit to the administration, we think that we can win something. Look at a broader perspective, and the contracts are often easier to control during the contract period. So, but I am time registering now, so I will know that within a couple of years. That I think we have to think more circular about our procurement. We have to think the whole way through our procurement, and that we only have to not look at the municipality's demand and the kitchen's demand or whatever we are buying. We look at the whole chain. We also have to look at what happens with the product first from it is produced, then until we use it, and then after we end up using it. And I think the procurement officer should be better to think that into our procurement, and we can only do that if we know the market that we are procuring for. I think that's from me right now.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Maybe on that last point, actually, just a question. Trying to balance this idea of trying to train your own staff and get aware of things like your 90% organic food target, as well as trying to then to engage the market for the same kind of information and try to transmit to them as well. You're maybe in the same position as Gorane a little bit, where you're the sort of the go-between. How do you balance the needs of or the kind of desires of your own internal staff with what the market can offer and what they would like?
Yeah. To say to the procurement officers that they need to look further than just the demands of the municipality. That's where we are right now, and they're trying to speak with the suppliers. And then I think the next step would be helping them to see what do we then use the product for when we're finished using it, and can we get into the contract already. So I'm trying to say, if we can do that, maybe we can save money on the longer term. So maybe even though it's more in the phase of the procurement, it saves money in total for the municipality. So, and that is the big discussion right now in Denmark and in our municipality is how you then document it. I think that is the new thing in Denmark is we need documentation that it's better for us, it's also money, and it is also better for the environment, and how to document it.
Okay, so the sort of balance of the resources needed versus the end result is a challenge that I guess most organizations face when it comes to market engagement.
Exactly.
And then you mentioned also the part of dialogue involved the whole market. When you say that, is that the existing suppliers that you had, or was it wider than that?
It is, of course, the existing suppliers, but also contact the I don't know it in English, but they have like an organization that supports them.
Okay.
We also contact them and say them, can you tell us that we have this dialogue? And we put it to our website, and we also have like an publish it on we have something called tendering.da, and everybody needs to put their tender there, because then they also publish it national. So we also publish that we have a market dialogue going on, and that invited for this and that date. And if they cannot be there, then they can listen to it online. So that's a possibility for everyone to attend.
Okay, thank you.
I actually want to. We have for our fruit and vegetable. So we also have a Swedish company that works actually. That's very rare in them that somebody from outside might want to bid to our contracts.
Why do you think that happened? Was that a result of the market engagement?
Yeah, they said that there was an interesting tender using the in vegetables and that they had the possibility to do better in what they think they're good at. And they did win the big fruit and vegetable contract, but they won one for sliced fruit and vegetables.
Okay, cross-border procurement there through market engagement.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, I'm just conscious of time, so I'm maybe going to just ask the question I just asked a second ago, or comment I made about the balance of resources versus the end result. Maybe just open that up to the other speakers as a panel discussion. Just, I know it's something that particularly David's working on with yourself, Betina, and the interest group. Do you the other panel have any further thoughts on the idea of how do you know when the right time for market engagement in terms of the size or complexity of the procurement versus the resources needed against the possible results? Is there any advice you could possibly have for that?
Can I ask? Yeah,
sure.
I think okay. I think for me it's it's not that time-consuming to have the market dialogue prior to the tender. Just have them in for a talk, telling them your basic thoughts. It doesn't take that long time. It's only in an afternoon, and it's given out. So that would always recommend that.
Yeah, I covered in my presentation. I think it's about deciding what type of market engagement is right for which type of tenders, and that can be more objective than people make out, which is why looking to design this tool which maps the criteria which I talked about against the types of market engagement. Certainly, every type of market engagement on every tender is not an option resource-wise, at least for us. So deciding what to do when is a key element. Really, I think we've at the moment here got quite a degree of inconsistency. As I said, we have some procurement people who have seen the benefits of running market engagement, and now they tend to run it on all their tenders, and when maybe sometimes it's not necessary. And then with the exact opposite of people who have never run it before and not seen the benefits. So they don't ever run any. Creating a level of consistency in how it's approached, I think, is quite important.
Thank you. And then if anybody anybody listening would like to follow up on that, I'm sure we'll be able to share some more information through the Procura Network. And also, if anyone's interested in joining the interest group, then please, as I say, get in touch with myself or David, and we can help take the steps towards that. Okay, I think just for time here, I'm going to have to wrap up and just say a big thank you to the three presenters, David, Gorane, and Betina. Thank you for your time. I know you're all very busy people, and it was appreciated that you shared these excellent presentations with us today. And just for myself, just a sort of last word, I just stop sharing my screen for a second. You can check out the Procura Possible website just for the updated Rule 2016 seminar page. You can also have a look at the intergroups page as well. And finally, I would like to share this with everyone if I can get my screen to work. You can also see the Procura Possible manual is up. If anybody missed the lot of emails going around, there is the just recently published Procura manual, which is available on the Procura website. Also, if anybody would like to have a hard copy of this who hasn't received one already, then just please get in touch and we can mail one out to you as well. So that will be something you can be aware of. So, if there's no questions, comments from anybody, I will say have a great day, everyone, and thank you very much for your attendance, and we will see you again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.